Hey folks, back again with another vlog. This is Steven Universe season 3 episodes 4 and 5, I believe. Barnmates and Hit the Diamond. Before we start, just a little housekeeping announcement type thing. My Patreon is now only $2 away from the next goal. If we hit that goal this month, I will record a sequel to a video I did a while back, which I'll link in the description, that was a blind let's play of the Stanley Parable. And at the end of that video, I mentioned I had a couple of other things I wanted to try in the game to see if I could get different paths. The video seemed to be pretty popular, but I just never got around to doing another episode of it. Life just got busy, and I just didn't get around to it. But just $2 more on my Patreon, and I will dedicate myself, guarantee that I will finally make that video. So if that has any interest to you, check it out. My Patreon has all kinds of things for subscribers at different levels. Early access to my blog posts, early access to these vlogs. At higher levels, you can get copies of my books. You can get you can commission a video or a blog post. So check it out if you want, and hopefully we'll get to that next goal. Anyway, on to Barnmates. This was basically everything I was hoping for. Lapis and Peridot clashing as people having to live together who don't really fit very well. Peridot is trying really hard. I really liked that, actually. Peridot, she says it during the episode, she wants to, not in so many words, but she makes pretty clear that she wants to connect with someone who shares her experiences of being stranded on Earth, of feeling alone. What she doesn't get is, I think Lapis wants some time alone. Lapis was trapped in a fusion for months, I think. She only just got out of it. She only just got out into the world. I don't think she wants to spend time with other people very much. I think she wants to be able to be alone for the first time in months. But Peridot really wants that connection and thinks Lapis needs a connection like that, which she's not wrong. Lapis does need to connect to others, and having someone who has also been stranded on Earth could help her. But I think first she needs that little bit of time alone, but she kind of reluctantly agrees to help, not help, but to interact with Peridot, to share her space with Peridot. Or at least she helps protect Peridot from the hunter. It wasn't called a hunter-seeker probe, that's Dune. I can't remember what the thing was called, but the flying eyeball thing that was hunting for Jasper, actually, as we found in the next episode. But Peridot thought it was for her because she insulted Yellow Diamond. As it turns out, in the next episode, that doesn't matter in the slightest, because, why would it? Yellow Diamond has other things to worry about than some tiny little Peridot. But apparently, finding jasper is a big deal. Presumably those rubies work for Yellow Diamond. Possibly not. But presumably she sent those rubies to Earth to find jasper. It's actually fun how the two episodes play with each other, especially with the title of the second one. Because at the end of the first episode, we see the ruby emerge. And Peridot is panicking about, this is Yellow Diamond's revenge. And then the title of the next episode is Hit the Diamond. Which, of course, you think, oh, they're going to fight Yellow Diamond now? That seems really early. But no, they meet a baseball diamond. Amusingly, the only copy of this I could find was a Spanish, French version, which still had the English dialogue, but the title was written in French, and some of the, whenever text showed up in the episode, which only happened a couple times, that text was in French, which was a little odd. Interestingly, the French title, actually given the mixture of French and English, I'm guessing this was probably the Canadian version, or the Quebecois version, but whatever. The title in French was not Hit the Diamond. It was Humans vs. Rubies, which was less creative, but the pun probably doesn't translate. Anyway, the second episode was a lot of Garnet character stuff. It was Garnet separating out into Ruby and Sapphire, the two of them flirting with each other ridiculously. It was an interesting side of Garnet that we've seen hints of before. Throughout the first season, she was this stoic badass who was just super cool. She was willing to admit to mistakes when she made them, as in Future Sight, but she didn't make very many. And she just seemed to have it way more together than the other gems. But here we see that Ruby and Sapphire are so enormously into each other that when they're separate, they can't concentrate on anything else. Which ties into Garnet's immense anxiety about being separate, or I should say Sapphire and Ruby's immense anxiety about being separated, because when they're separated, Garnet doesn't exist. Which we saw back in Keystone Motel. And, I think their relationship is very strong and overall very healthy, but they have difficulty functioning as separate individuals, which is a thing. Amusingly enough, this is known as a fusional relationship. It's one where, a couple they do everything together. They're, colloquialism is they're joined at the hip. They just don't want to be by themselves, not because they feel inadequate when they're by themselves, but because being together feels so good. And they feel stronger and better when they're together. They're still perfectly capable of functioning alone if they choose to, but they really, really, really don't want to. And that's really what we see with Ruby and Sapphire. They're capable of functioning independently. As we see, Ruby is able to worm her way in with the other rubies Admittedly, they're not exactly the most intelligent of gems, but Ruby is able to function and to more or less pull it off, while Sapphire is able to eventually concentrate and focus enough to hit that home run. So, they can function alone, it's just that they really strongly dislike it. And carried away in a moment of exuberance, they fuse again. It's honest, it's on the one hand, yeah, that's a major tactical error from a character who very rarely makes them. But on the other hand, she, it's really very sweet, just how much the two of them love each other. Then, so that's Garnet in this two-parter. The other character that's really focused on here is Peridot. Mostly in the first part, but also in the second part to a degree. And I am treating this as a two-parter just because of the way the first part, the second one picked up immediately where the first one left off. So, Peridot she's an interesting character because she's simultaneously very needy and very arrogant, which is not that uncommon of a combination, since arrogance is usually a cover for a feeling of inadequacy. Not always. Some people are arrogant because they genuinely think they're better than everybody else. But sometimes people act as if they're better than everybody else because they're worried they're not. They feel driven to have to be the best, that they won't be valued otherwise. And it's utterly no surprise that Peridot feels that way, coming from a culture that basically doesn't value people, that treats them purely functionally. But she covers that, she papers that over with this kind of arrogance. At the same time, she really, really needs reassurance and support so that she can feel valued and valid. And so being rejected by Lapis, someone who she feels is someone she has a great deal in common with, because they're both stranded on Earth, they both came on the same mission, it's really upsetting for her. And she tries everything that she and Steven can think of to win Lapis over. It doesn't work. The loss of tape recorder is deeply upsetting to me. I really enjoyed her talks with the tape recorder, and I hope she gets another one soon. I don't think Lapis... I was going to say I don't think Lapis realizes how important that tape recorder was to Peridot, but Peridot tells her how important that tape recorder is for her, and Lapis still destroys it. So it's not that she doesn't recognize it, it's that she genuinely doesn't care. She is angry at Peridot for dragging her to Earth. She is still recovering from an intensely traumatic experience, which Peridot unwittingly brought back to mind with the pool. Heads up, kids, that's what a trigger is. I can just see people saying, a pool that's such a ridiculous trigger, that's, SJW nonsense or whatever. But no, the point is for Lapis, that's what she associates her horrible experience with, is being underwater. So for her, yeah, a pool absolutely does act as a trigger for those terrible memories and terrible thoughts. And, the barely suppressed rage in her when she basically lays into Peridot for thinking water would cheer her up. Which is a very Peridot thing to do. Look at someone's category instead of their experiences and actions to make judgments about them. Lapis is like water and flying. And, that's what Peridot thinks. She doesn't consider that the Lapis in front of her is an individual who has her own experiences that make her less of a fan of water right now. That's the kind of thing that, that's the kind of thinking that Peridot is still struggling with. She's slowly learning. Like, she recognizes Peridot's unique experiences that are akin to hers. She doesn't quite recognize the other experiences Lapis has gone through. But yeah, the destruction of the tape recorder was actually really sad to me because I really enjoyed Peridot's little, log entries. And I hope she gets another one soon. But, Peridot is very self-centered. And I don't necessarily mean the same thing as selfish. I think she genuinely wants to help Lapis. But she's very self-centered in the sense that she can't see beyond herself. She is the center of her own world, and everything revolves around her, in her mind. Even when she's trying to be, to care for others, it's still, her perceptions are all based on herself. She assumes that they think the way she does, that they have the same perspective that she does. She doesn't recognize that yet, that there's a multiplicity of perspectives. And so she assumes that when soldiers from the Gem Homeworld show up, she assumes that they're there for her because she insulted Yellow Diamond, and that's what she's anxious about, possibly even guilty about. And so she assumes, because that's what her fears tell her, that they're coming for her. She doesn't consider that in Yellow Diamond's eyes, Jasper might be a higher priority target, because Jasper is a higher ranking gem. She's a quartz variant, I believe. And Peridot had already made clear with regards to Amethyst that quartzes outrank Peridots. So it was an interesting little contrast between two characters, three characters-ish. Because with Ruby and Sapphire, we have two people who are so focused on each other that they have difficulty seeing anything else. And with Peridot, we have someone who's so focused on herself that she has difficulty in seeing anything else. And despite good intentions, they screw things up because they're not able to see beyond their very narrow focus. It's a thematically interesting way to pair the two episodes, which otherwise, other than one starting right after the other, don't have a ton to do with each other. Other than that, I hope that Lapis starts integrating with the team a little more now. That she starts to sort of come out of that wanting to be alone a little. It might take time, it might take effort, but I'm hoping we get a Lapis focus episode which can kind of work through that. I'm wondering if we're going to get Lapis pairing up with everyone the way we did with Peridot, because we now had a Lapis Steven episode, a Lapis Peridot episode. I'm wondering if we're going to get them with Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, the way they sort of did with Peridot. It makes sense. It's a good way to introduce a new character dynamic, is to explore their individual dynamic with each other character. There's an old bit of writer's advice that characters are most interesting in pairs. And so if you want to learn quickly about a new character, show them in lots of different pairs. Hopefully that's where they'll go. I don't know. I'll find out when I watch the next episode. As always, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and especially share. Getting these out there, getting more eyeballs on them is, you know, really good for me. It really helps encourage me, and if some of those translate into Patreon, that can accelerate the rate at which videos come out. Just saying. Because the greater percentage of my income comes from this stuff, the more of this stuff I can justify doing. Anyway, thanks as always. I'll see you next time. Bye.